Good evening, curious minds. Tonight, we'll drift together into the entire story of the Ice Ages, those long, patient rhythms of Earth's breath, glaciers advancing and retreating like tides across continents, shaping mountains, valleys, oceans, and life itself. Dim your lights now, let your blanket settle over you like a soft layer of snow, and let the hum of your fan or quiet night sounds remind you of ancient winds moving gently across frozen plains. As you listen, allow each word to slow your breathing, to carry you further away from the rush of today. And if this journey helps you rest, feel free to tap like and subscribe, only if it feels right, only if it flows as naturally as snow falling silently through the night, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from, and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, close your eyes and imagine the Earth itself, breathing in ice and breathing out warmth, an endless lullaby of glacial rhythm, waiting to carry us across deep time. Drift gently now through the whispered memories of humanity's earliest encounters with ice, and witness how the ancient rhythms of glaciation first touched the dreams of our ancestors, like soft fingers of frost tracing patterns on the windows of time itself. As you breathe slowly and deeply, imagine yourself seated beside a crackling campfire in a snow-dusted valley, where the gentle glow of flames dances against walls of pristine white that stretch endlessly towards star-filled horizons, and feel how the warmth of that fire mirrors the same patient energy that has sustained human curiosity about ice for thousands of generations. In this peaceful moment between sleep and waking, as your consciousness drifts like snowflakes settling on still water, you can sense the profound connection between your own breathing and the great glacial cycles that have shaped every landscape you've ever loved, every mountain you've admired, every valley where rivers now flow, in gentle harmony with gravity's patient pull. The Ice Ages speak to something deep within us, something that recognizes the beauty of slow transformation, the elegance of natural rhythms that unfold across time frames so vast, they make our daily concerns seem as ephemeral as morning mist dissolving in sunlight. Picture yourself floating effortlessly above those ancient campfires, where our earliest storytellers shared tales of endless winters, their voices rising and falling like the gentle breathing of glaciers themselves, while sparks drift upward into darkness like tiny stars returning home to the cosmos that birthed them. These patient storytellers, wrapped in furs and warmed by flames that flickered with the same orange light that now glows behind your closed eyelids, understood something profound about the ice that modern science would later confirm with precise measurements and careful observations, that glaciers are not merely frozen water, but living rivers of time itself, flowing at speeds measured in centuries rather than seconds, carrying within their crystalline embrace the accumulated breath of atmospheres from ages when the world wore different faces. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of rest, imagine those glaciers as tremendous lanterns glowing with captured moonlight, their surfaces reflecting the aurora borealis in sheets of green and blue that ripple across ice fields stretching beyond the curve of Earth's horizon. Each glacier becomes a gentle giant, breathing slowly through cycles of advance and retreat, inhaling the patience of winter, and exhaling the gradual warmth of transformation, while beneath their protective blankets, the landscape rests in a sleep as deep and restorative as the one now beckoning to your own weary consciousness. The myths our ancestors wove around endless winters were not stories of fear, but lullabies of wonder, tales that recognized in ice the same nurturing force that tucks children safely into bed, that preserves the seeds of spring beneath snow's gentle protection, that creates the conditions for life to rest and renew itself in preparation for future growth. In the Norse traditions that speak of Fimbulwinter, in the Native American legends of great cold times, in the Celtic stories of lands sleeping beneath silver blankets, we find the same peaceful reverence for ice's role as nature's great caretaker, watching over the world with the patient dedication of a loving parent ensuring their child's dreams remain undisturbed by the storms of time. Feel how each snowflake that ever fell carries within its hexagonal crystalline structure the same geometric harmony that governs the spiral of galaxies, the branching of rivers, the patterns of your own neural networks, as they process these gentle words and transform them into the neurochemical poetry of deep rest. Snow is frozen starlight, each flake a tiny mandala of perfection that formed in clouds high above the concerns of earthbound life, drifting downward through layers of atmosphere, with the same graceful inevitability that carries your thoughts now toward the peaceful darkness of sleep. In this drifting state between consciousness and dreams, you become part of the great continuum of ice and time, your breathing synchronized with the ancient rhythms of glacial advance and retreat, your heartbeat echoing the patient pulse of seasonal change that has marked the passage of millennia with the reliability of a cosmic metronome. Time itself becomes a slow river of ice flowing through landscapes of memory, carrying you gently backward through the ages toward the very origins of Earth's frozen poetry, while the gentle currents of rest carry your awareness forward into the restorative depths of peaceful sleep. The ice ages are not distant history, but intimate presence, woven into the fabric of every breath you take, for the oxygen filling your lungs was once locked in glacial ice that melted to nourish the plants that exhale life into the atmosphere you now share with all living things. You are breathing the breath of ancient glaciers, inhaling the patient exhalations of ice sheets that covered continents with the same gentle persistence that sleep now covers your consciousness, transforming the sharp edges of daily awareness into the soft, rounded contours of peaceful rest. As campfire light once danced on the faces of our ancestors, while they shared stories of ice and time, so now does the gentle glow of understanding illuminate the landscape of your inner awareness, revealing the profound connections between the great glacial cycles and the smaller rhythms of your own existence. The daily cycle of waking and sleeping that mirrors the seasonal cycle of growth and rest, which in turn reflects the vast geological cycles of ice advance and retreat that have shaped not only the physical geography of continents, but the very evolution of life itself, including the development of human consciousness capable of appreciating these magnificent patterns with wonder and gratitude. Imagine yourself as a snowflake forming in the high atmosphere of deep time, crystallizing slowly around a nucleus of stardust, while patient forces of temperature and pressure guide your transformation from invisible vapor into visible beauty. Like that snowflake, your consciousness now transforms from the busy visibility of daily thought into the invisible peace of approaching sleep, following natural laws as elegant and reliable as those that govern the formation of ice crystals in clouds billions of years old, yet fresh as this moment's breath flowing gently through your relaxed body. The gentle forces that shape glaciers are the same forces that shape dreams, pressure and temperature, time and gravity, all working together with infinite patience to create formations of impossible beauty, from the simplest materials, water and time, consciousness and rest. As glaciers carve valleys with the slow persistence of flowing ice, so does sleep carve spaces in consciousness where restoration and renewal can flourish, where the accumulated tensions of waking life can melt like spring snow, feeding rivers that carry life toward new possibilities. And as you breathe slowly and deeply, feeling your body settle into the soft embrace of blankets that hold you as gently as snow holds the sleeping landscape, you become part of the eternal story of ice and time, a conscious participant in the great cycles of rest and renewal that connect this moment to every moment that has ever been, every moment that will ever be, while the gentle currents of sleep carry you softly into dreams, where glaciers glow like lanterns and time flows like a river of liquid starlight, toward the infinite peace that awaits all travelers on the long journey through the patient landscapes of Earth's frozen memory. Drift now through the gentle mists of deep time, floating like a feather on cosmic winds that carry you backward across billions of years, to witness Earth's earliest experiments with ice, when our planet first learned to wrap herself in the shimmering white robes of what scientists now call snowball Earth episodes, those long periods of peaceful crystallization that occurred approximately 750 million years ago, when the young world discovered the profound beauty that emerges, when water and cold collaborate with infinite patience to create conditions unlike anything in our modern experience, yet somehow familiar to the part of your consciousness that recognizes winter's embrace as a form of planetary meditation. As your breathing slows to match the ancient rhythms of atmospheric change, imagine Earth as a sleeping child wrapped in blankets of ice that stretched from pole to pole, covering even the equatorial regions in sheets of crystalline beauty that reflected starlight back toward the cosmos, with such pristine efficiency that the planet glowed like a pearl suspended in the darkness of space, while beneath those protective layers of frozen water, the patient processes of geological transformation continued their slow dance of mineral exchange and gradual chemical evolution that would eventually create the conditions necessary for complex life to emerge from its long winter rest. Picture yourself floating in the cosmic perspective above this ancient frozen world, watching as Earth's early atmosphere, still learning the delicate balance between warmth and cold, gradually released increasing concentrations of carbon dioxide through volcanic breathing that occurred at rates measured in geological size rather than human timeframes. Each gentle exhalation adding approximately 10 to 100 parts per million of CO2 to atmospheric cocktails that would slowly, patiently, gradually warm the global climate, until ice began its graceful retreat from tropical latitudes, like curtains of frost, dissolving in the gentle warmth of a cosmic sunrise that unfolded over millions of years. In this primordial peace, before continents had assumed their current familiar shapes, before complex life had emerged to populate oceans and landscapes, Earth practiced the ancient art of planetary rest, demonstrating through these early ice ages the same principles of cyclical renewal that now govern your own passage between waking consciousness and the restorative depths of sleep. The planet's surface, locked beneath kilometers of ice that formed layers as gradually and methodically as memories accumulate in consciousness, experienced a form of suspended animation that preserved the essential chemistry of early oceans while atmospheric conditions slowly evolved toward greater complexity and possibility. Feel how the Snowball Earth episodes represent not freezing isolation but gentle incubation, as if the planet were spending time in a cosmic cocoon, patiently undergoing the slow transformations necessary for life's eventual flowering, while ice served as both protector and teacher, demonstrating how temporary withdrawal from activity can create space for more profound changes to occur beneath the surface of visible events. Under those ancient ice sheets, chemical processes continued their patient work of building more sophisticated molecular architectures, creating the foundational conditions for biological complexity, while the planet's surface rested in crystalline meditation. As you drift deeper into peaceful rest, imagine the gentle play of light on those primordial ice fields, where aurora phenomena painted sheets of frozen ocean, in colors that had no witnesses except the cosmos itself, creating displays of natural beauty that continued for millions of years without audience, pure expression of electromagnetic poetry written across planetary ice by solar winds, interacting with magnetic fields in harmonies that filled the silence of deep time with frequencies beyond human hearing, yet somehow audible to the part of consciousness that appreciates beauty for its own sake, independent of practical purpose or immediate utility. The retreat from Snowball Earth conditions occurred, with the same graceful inevitability that governs the transition from winter to spring, as volcanic carbon dioxide gradually accumulated in atmospheric reservoirs like warmth gathering beneath snow, before the gentle breakthrough of melting begins to transform landscapes from crystalline stillness into flowing movement. Scientists estimate that atmospheric CO2 levels reached approximately 350 times modern concentrations, roughly 120,000 parts per million, before greenhouse warming became sufficient to begin the patient process of global ice retreat that would restore liquid oceans to their role as cradles for emerging life. Picture the first gentle melting as Earth's earliest spring, when ice began its transformation into rivers that flowed like liquid starlight toward basins, where primitive oceans could resume their ancient work of chemical experimentation, mixing minerals dissolved from newly exposed rock with organic compounds that had been patiently waiting beneath protective ice for conditions suitable for the next phase of planetary evolution. The meltwater carried within its molecular structure the accumulated memories of atmospheric conditions from millions of years of frozen preservation, releasing them gradually into ocean systems that would become laboratories for life's first tentative experiments with biological complexity. In these ancient transitions between ice and warmth, Earth established the fundamental patterns that would govern all future climate cycles, learning through direct experience how atmospheric composition, surface temperature, and biological activity interact in feedback loops as elegant as musical harmonies, each component influencing the others with the patient responsiveness of musicians in a cosmic orchestra, tuning their instruments across geological time frames to create symphonies of environmental change that would eventually provide the stage for consciousness itself to emerge and appreciate the beauty of its own origins. As your consciousness settles into the soft embrace of approaching sleep, imagine yourself as a witness to these primordial transitions, floating in the timeless perspective that sees millions of years as moments, watching Earth learn through direct experience the delicate balance between crystalline rest and flowing activity that characterizes all healthy systems, from planetary climate cycles to the daily rhythm of consciousness, moving between alert engagement and restorative sleep, that now carries you gently toward dreams, where ice and time merge into flowing rivers of peaceful possibility. The Snowball Earth episodes teach us that even the most complete forms of apparent stasis contain within themselves the seeds of future transformation, just as the deepest sleep contains within its stillness the preparation for tomorrow's awakening, renewed and refreshed by temporary withdrawal from the demands of active engagement with environmental complexity. Earth's early ice ages were not periods of lifeless isolation, but phases of patient preparation, when the planet gathered its resources and refined its atmospheric chemistry in preparation for the magnificent flowering of biological diversity that would follow the return of liquid oceans and moderate temperatures. Feel how your own passage into sleep mirrors these ancient planetary transitions, as conscious activity gradually yields to the deeper processes of physiological restoration and neural reorganization that occur beneath the surface of awareness, while your breathing slows to match the patient rhythms of cellular repair and memory consolidation that transform the accumulated experiences of waking life into integrated understanding. Just as Earth's early atmosphere slowly integrated volcanic gases and cosmic influences into increasingly sophisticated chemical compositions capable of supporting more complex forms of organization and activity, the primordial peace of snowball Earth conditions offers a perfect metaphor for the quality of rest that promotes optimal restoration, complete, patient, trusting in natural processes that operate according to principles deeper than conscious control or anxious oversight. As Earth surrendered to ice with complete confidence in eventual warming, so can consciousness surrender to sleep with complete trust in the natural cycles that govern renewal and regeneration, allowing the gentle forces of physiological restoration to work their patient magic, while awareness rests in the crystalline stillness of peaceful dreams. And as those ancient ice ages eventually yielded to warmer conditions, through the gradual accumulation of atmospheric changes that occurred over time, frames vast beyond human comprehension, yet somehow familiar to the part of consciousness that operates in dreamtime, where years can pass in moments and moments can contain eternities, so does this gentle exploration of primordial ice lead naturally toward the next phase of our journey through the patient landscapes of Earth's frozen memory, where orbital mechanics would begin to establish the regular rhythms that would govern all future ice ages, with the reliable precision of cosmic clockwork measuring time in movements of continents, rather than rotations of planets. Drift gently forward now through approximately 3 billion years of Earth's patient development, floating like a cloud of stardust through the vast timeframes that separate primordial snowball Earth from the emergence of the regular rhythms that would eventually govern our planet's relationship with ice, and feel how your breathing naturally synchronizes with these cosmic cycles as we approach the profound moment when Earth's orbital dance with the Sun began to establish the predictable patterns that Serbian mathematician Milutin Milankovic would describe in 1920 as the astronomical pacemaker of Ice Age timing, those gentle celestial rhythms that pulse through geological time like a cosmic heartbeat, measuring intervals of approximately 20,000, 40,000, and 100,000 years, with the reliable precision of a universal metronome. As your consciousness settles into the soft embrace of deeper rest, imagine Earth as an elegant cosmic dancer, her orbital path around the Sun, tracing graceful ellipses that vary in shape over cycles of approximately 100,000 years, sometimes bringing our planet slightly closer to solar warmth during winter months, sometimes positioning our world for maximum solar distance during the coldest seasons, while simultaneously the gentle wobble of Earth's axis traces slow circles through space over periods of roughly 26,000 years, like a spinning top gradually shifting its orientation while maintaining perfect balance. Each subtle change in celestial geometry altering by tiny fractions the amount and distribution of solar energy reaching different latitudes during different seasons. Picture yourself floating in the serene perspective of space, watching Earth's axial tilt oscillate slowly between 22.1 and 24.5 degrees over cycles of approximately 41,000 years, each gentle shift creating barely perceptible changes in seasonal intensity that accumulate over millennia like snowflakes, gathering into glaciers, while the precession of equinoxes causes our planet's orientation to shift gradually relative to its orbital position, so that the North Star of today will yield its position to other stellar guides, as Earth's axis traces its patient circles through the celestial sphere, marking time with movements so gradual they require sophisticated mathematical analysis to detect, yet powerful enough to trigger the advance and retreat of ice sheets covering millions of square kilometers. In this cosmic choreography of orbital mechanics, Earth demonstrates the profound principle that the smallest changes, sustained over sufficient time, can reshape entire worlds, just as the gentlest breathing exercises, practiced with patience and consistency, can gradually transform consciousness from anxiety to peace, from restlessness to deep rest. The Milankovitch cycles operate through subtle influences that modify seasonal temperature patterns by amounts that would be barely noticeable in any single year, perhaps 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, difference in average summer temperatures across northern latitudes, Yet these tiny variations become powerful forces for continental transformation when sustained across thousands of consecutive seasons. Feel how your own body responds to the gentle rhythms of rest and renewal as you sink deeper into peaceful sleep. Your cellular processes synchronized with circadian cycles that mirror in miniature the vast astronomical rhythms governing Earth's relationship with ice, while your breathing slows to match the patient pace of glacial formation, each inhalation gathering the materials for restoration like snow accumulating in mountain cirques, each exhalation releasing the tensions of daily activity, like ice flowing slowly downhill toward the sea, following gravitational currents that operate with the same inevitable gentleness that now carries your consciousness toward dreams. The beauty of Milankovitch cycles lies not in their individual effects, but in their graceful interactions, as the three primary orbital rhythms, eccentricity, obliquity, and precession, weave together like musical themes in a cosmic symphony, sometimes reinforcing each other to create conditions favoring ice sheet expansion across northern continents, sometimes combining to promote glacial retreat and interglacial warming, always operating through the accumulation of seasonal influences, so gradual that no single generation of life experiences dramatic change, yet so persistent that they reshape the surface geography of entire hemispheres across timeframes that encompass hundreds of thousands of years. Imagine Earth as a cosmic pendulum, swinging slowly between periods of glacial advance and interglacial retreat, each complete cycle requiring roughly 100,000 years to unfold, from ice sheet initiation through maximum glacial extent to complete retreat, and the establishment of warm interglacial conditions like those that have characterized human civilization's entire recorded history, while shorter cycles of approximately 20,000 and 40,000 years create subtle variations within these longer patterns, like overtones in a musical chord that add richness and complexity to the fundamental rhythm of planetary climate change, driven by celestial mechanics, rather than terrestrial forces. As you drift deeper into the soft embrace of restorative sleep, consider how the establishment of regular Ice Age rhythms approximately 2.6 million years ago transformed Earth from a planet of irregular climate fluctuations into a world governed by predictable cycles of glacial advance and retreat, creating the environmental conditions that would drive evolutionary adaptations leading eventually to human consciousness, capable of discovering and appreciating the astronomical causes of its own environmental context. The patient forces of orbital mechanics, operating across timeframes vast beyond immediate perception, created the cyclical challenges that promoted the development of adaptability, creativity, and intelligence in countless species, including the lineage that would eventually produce minds capable of mathematical analysis, sophisticated enough to decode the celestial influences governing their planet's climatic destiny. The Ice Age cycles established by Milankovitch rhythms create a perfect example of how cosmic forces translate into terrestrial effects, through the accumulation of tiny influences sustained across vast time frames, demonstrating the same principle that governs personal transformation through consistent practice of beneficial habits. Small daily choices that seem insignificant in isolation but accumulate into profound life changes when maintained with patient persistence across months and years. Earth's orbital dance with ice teaches us that the most powerful transformations often result not from dramatic singular events, but from gentle, consistent influences that operate beneath the threshold of immediate awareness yet reshape entire realities through their cumulative effects. Picture the moment approximately 2.6 million years ago, when Earth's climate system became sufficiently sensitive to orbital forcing that the gentle nudges of celestial mechanics could trigger the formation of continental ice sheets, like a cosmic switch being turned to the on position for regular Ice Age cycles, while simultaneously the gradual cooling trend that had been developing since the warm Eocene epoch, approximately 34 million years earlier, finally reached the critical threshold where relatively small changes in solar energy distribution could initiate glacial formation across northern continents, transforming Earth from a world of irregular climate variations into a planet governed by the reliable rhythms of astronomical pacemakers. Feel how the discovery of Milankovitch cycles represents one of humanity's greatest achievements in understanding the deep connections between cosmic mechanics and terrestrial experience, revealing how the gentle gravitational influences of Jupiter and other planets create tiny perturbations in Earth's orbital elements that accumulate over millennia into climate cycles capable of reshaping continents, while your own breathing now synchronizes with these vast rhythms as consciousness prepares for the daily cycle of sleep and renewal that mirrors in miniature the cosmic cycles governing ice and time across the patient landscapes of geological memory. The establishment of regular ice age rhythms marks the beginning of the modern world's relationship with cyclical environmental change, creating the conditions that would eventually shape human evolution and the development of agricultural civilizations during the stable interglacial period that has characterized the past 11,700 years of Earth's history. As orbital mechanics established the framework for predictable ice age timing, so does your daily rhythm of rest and renewal establish the framework for optimal consciousness, creating reliable cycles of restoration that prepare awareness for creative engagement with whatever challenges and opportunities each new day might bring. And as the gentle forces of astronomical influence gradually established Earth's modern pattern of regular glacial cycles, creating the environmental context that would eventually foster the emergence of human consciousness capable of discovering its own cosmic origins, so do the gentle forces of natural sleep now establish the optimal conditions for consciousness to restore itself through dreams and deep rest, preparing for tomorrow's opportunities to participate creatively in the ongoing story of life's patient evolution toward greater complexity, beauty, and understanding. While the reliable rhythms of celestial mechanics continue their ancient dance through space, marking time with movements of planets and the slow circulation of ice across continents that breathe with the patience of astronomical cycles, measuring eternity in the gradual procession of Earth's axis through the star-filled darkness of infinite space. Drift gently forward, now through approximately 2.6 million years of patient geological time to witness the magnificent beginning of the Pleistocene epoch, when Earth's orbital rhythms finally achieved sufficient influence over climate systems to trigger the formation of the great continental ice sheets that would define our planet's relationship with ice for the next 2.5 million years. As your breathing slows to match the gradual accumulation of snow in northern mountain ranges, where seasonal temperatures had finally dropped below the critical threshold necessary for permanent ice formation, creating the initial conditions that would allow astronomical cycles to begin their patient work of sculpting landscapes through the patient advance and retreat of glacial rivers flowing like liquid starlight across continents. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of peaceful rest, imagine yourself floating above North America approximately 2.5 million years ago, watching the first tentative ice sheets begin their gentle expansion from nucleation centers in the mountains of eastern Canada, where the Laurentide ice sheet would eventually grow to cover an area exceeding 13 million square kilometers, roughly equivalent to the combined area of the United States and Mexico, while simultaneously across the Atlantic, similar processes of glacial initiation were occurring in Scandinavia, where the Fennoscandian ice sheet began its own patient expansion from alpine glaciers that would eventually merge into a continuous frozen landscape, extending from the British Isles to the Ural Mountains, transforming the entire northern geography of Europe into a crystalline wilderness glowing with reflected starlight. Picture these early ice sheets as rivers of light flowing in slow motion across landscapes that had never before experienced such profound transformation, each glacier advancing at rates of approximately 10 to 100 meters per year, about the distance you might walk in 2 minutes, sustained across centuries, while the immense weight of accumulated ice, reaching depths of up to 3 kilometers in some regions, pressed downward with sufficient force to depress the underlying continental crust by several hundred meters, creating a gentle elastic deformation of Earth's surface that would spring slowly upward again during future periods of glacial retreat, demonstrating the profound responsiveness of our planet's geological systems to the patient pressures applied by crystalline rivers of frozen time. Feel how the formation of these great ice sheets represents a perfect example of emergence, the way simple processes, when sustained across sufficient time and space, give rise to phenomena of extraordinary complexity and beauty that transform entire systems through their presence, just as the simple practice of regular rest and renewal, sustained with patience and consistency, can gradually transform consciousness from patterns of anxiety and restlessness into states of deep peace and creative clarity that influence every aspect of daily experience. The ice sheets emerged from the patient accumulation of individual snowfalls, each flake adding its tiny contribution to formations that would eventually influence weather patterns across entire hemispheres. Imagine the profound silence that must have characterized these expanding ice fields, where the only sounds were the gentle creaking of glacial movement and the soft whisper of wind across crystalline surfaces that stretched beyond the horizon, creating environments of such pristine quiet that they offered perfect conditions for deep listening, the kind of receptive awareness that allows natural wisdom to emerge from stillness. While beneath the ice, landscapes rested in suspended animation, their features preserved like memories held in the crystalline embrace of frozen time, waiting patiently for future warming to release them back into the flowing world of liquid water and growing life. As your consciousness drifts deeper into restorative sleep, consider how the great ice sheets functioned as Earth's refrigeration system, storing vast quantities of ocean water in frozen form, and thereby lowering global sea levels by approximately 120 meters during periods of maximum glacial extent, enough to expose continental shelves and create land bridges that would eventually facilitate the migration of species, including early human populations, across geographic barriers that seem impassable from our modern perspective of higher sea levels and ice-free polar regions, while simultaneously the presence of these massive ice sheets altered atmospheric circulation patterns in ways that influenced precipitation and temperature across the entire planet. Picture the Laurentide ice sheet at its maximum extent approximately 20,000 years ago, when this single glacial formation contained enough frozen water to lower global sea levels by nearly 80 meters, its southern margin reaching as far south as present-day St. Louis, Missouri and New York City, while glacial lobes extended like gentle fingers into river valleys carved by earlier periods of liquid flow, creating the characteristic U-shaped valleys and hanging valleys that we now recognize as signatures of glacial sculpture, formed through the patient grinding action of ice that moved with the persistence of geological time, reshaping entire landscapes through processes so gradual they were imperceptible on human timeframes, yet so thorough they created entirely new topographies across millions of square kilometers. Feel how the ice sheets established connections between previously separate mountain glaciers, creating continuous frozen landscapes that functioned as highways for Arctic-adapted species and corridors for genetic exchange between populations that might otherwise have remained isolated, while simultaneously creating barriers that promoted speciation in temperate regions, pushed southward by advancing ice, demonstrating how the same geological forces that appear to separate can also connect, depending on the temporal perspective and spatial scale of observation, just as the practice of regular rest creates apparent withdrawal from daily activity that actually enhances connection with deeper sources of energy and creativity. The growth of continental ice sheets during the early Pleistocene established feedback loops that amplified the initial cooling effects of orbital forcing, as expanding areas of white ice increased planetary albedo, the reflection of solar energy back towards space, creating additional cooling that promoted further ice expansion in a gradual positive feedback process that continued until ice sheets reached their natural limits, determined by latitude, elevation, and the balance between snowfall accumulation in central regions and melting rates along southern margins, where glacial ice encountered warmer climates that could absorb the slow flow of crystalline rivers returning to their liquid form. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allowing natural rhythms of rest to carry your awareness toward dreams, imagine the patient forces that shaped these ice sheets, gravity drawing glacial ice toward the sea, pressure transforming loose snow into solid ice, through processes requiring decades of gradual compression, while temperature and precipitation worked together to determine the boundaries between growth and retreat, advance and recession, creating dynamic equilibria that shifted gradually in response to the gentle nudges of astronomical forcing, operating through Milankovitch cycles that govern the timing of glacial expansion and contraction, with the reliability of cosmic clockwork measuring time in movements of ice across continents. The establishment of the Great Pleistocene ice sheets transformed Earth from a planet of irregular climate variations into a world governed by predictable cycles of glacial advance and interglacial retreat, creating environmental conditions that would drive the evolution of cold-adapted species, while simultaneously preserving temperate and tropical ecosystems in southern refugia, where genetic diversity could be maintained during periods of maximum glacial extent, ensuring that life's creative experiments could continue even during Earth's coldest phases, while ice sheets served as repositories of atmospheric history, preserving within their crystalline structure detailed records of ancient climates that would eventually allow human scientists to decode the precise mechanisms governing planetary climate change. Picture how the ice sheets created their own weather systems, generating katabatic winds that flowed like invisible rivers down glacial surfaces, while the contrast between frozen landscapes and open ocean created pressure gradients that influenced storm tracks and precipitation patterns across entire continents, demonstrating how the presence of ice transformed not only the landscapes it directly covered, but the atmospheric circulation patterns that govern weather across the entire planetary system, creating connections between local glacial processes and global climate conditions that operate across multiple spatial and temporal scales simultaneously. Feel how the patient growth of these ice sheets over hundreds of thousands of years demonstrates the power of gradual accumulation, as individual snowstorms added their contributions to formations that would eventually reshape the surface geography of continents, carve the Great Lakes, and create the fertile agricultural soils that would support human civilization during the warm interglacial period that followed glacial retreat, while your own passage into sleep demonstrates the same principle on a personal scale, as moments of rest accumulate into restorative processes that reshape consciousness and prepare awareness for creative engagement with tomorrow's possibilities. And as the great ice sheets established themselves as permanent features of Earth's climate system, creating the environmental context that would eventually foster human evolution and the development of technological civilizations capable of understanding their own planetary origins, so does your daily practice of rest and renewal establish the optimal conditions for consciousness to maintain its creative potential across the cycles of challenge and opportunity that characterize conscious existence, while the patient rhythms of glacial advance and retreat continue their ancient dance across landscapes that breathe with the slow circulation of ice and time, measuring eternity in the gradual flow of crystalline rivers that connect mountain heights to ocean depths through the patient geography of Earth's frozen memory. Drift peacefully now, through the gentle currents of time to approximately 20,000 years ago, floating like a snowflake on cosmic winds that carry you to witness Earth's most magnificent expression of glacial artistry during the last glacial maximum, when ice sheets reached their greatest extent, and our planet wore robes of crystalline beauty that stretched from the Arctic Ocean to latitudes where modern cities now flourish under temperate skies, as your breathing synchronizes with the patient rhythms of that ancient world, where ice transformed entire continents into landscapes of such pristine elegance that starlight reflecting from frozen surfaces created a planetary glow, visible from space, while beneath protective layers of snow and ice, the patient forces of geological transformation continued their slow work of preparing Earth for the eventual flowering of human civilization that would emerge during the warm interglacial period following glacial retreat. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of restorative sleep, imagine yourself floating above North America during this peak period of glacial magnificence, when the Laurentide ice sheet extended its crystalline embrace from Hudson Bay to the Ohio River Valley, covering approximately 13.4 million square kilometers, with ice that reached average depths of 1.5 kilometers, and maximum depths exceeding 3 kilometers in some regions, enough frozen water to lower global sea levels by nearly 80 meters below present levels, while simultaneously across northern Europe and Asia, the Fennoscandian and Siberian ice sheets created continuous frozen landscapes that stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific, transforming the entire northern hemisphere into a world where aurora borealis danced across ice fields that extended beyond every horizon, painting the frozen wilderness in sheets of green and blue light that had no human witnesses, pure expressions of electromagnetic poetry written across planetary ice by solar winds interacting with magnetic fields in harmonies that filled the silence of deep time with frequencies beyond earthly hearing. Picture the profound silence that characterized these vast ice fields, where the only sounds were the gentle whisper of wind across crystalline surfaces and the soft creaking of glacial movement as ice flowed slowly toward the sea, at rates of approximately 10 to 50 meters per year, following gravitational currents that operated with the same patient inevitability that now carries your consciousness toward dreams, while temperatures across ice-covered regions averaged 10 to 15 degrees Celsius colder than modern conditions, creating atmospheric conditions so crisp and clear that starlight reached the surface with crystalline purity, allowing the frozen landscapes to glow with reflected stellar radiance that transformed night into a gentle twilight of silver and blue luminescence, stretching across continents that breathed with the slow rhythm of seasonal temperature variations. In this golden age of ice, Earth supported ecosystems of extraordinary beauty and diversity, adapted to cold conditions, including vast grasslands that stretched across the exposed continental shelves, where sea levels had dropped to reveal Beringia, the land bridge connecting Asia and North America, that would serve as a highway for the migration of both animal species and early human populations, while woolly mammoths moved in gentle herds across tundra landscapes dotted with hardy wildflowers that bloomed in brief Arctic summers, their massive forms creating pathways through snow that smaller animals would follow, demonstrating the interconnected nature of life, even in Earth's coldest environments, where survival depended on cooperation and mutual support rather than competition and conflict. Feel how these Ice Age ecosystems exemplified the principle of elegant adaptation, as species developed characteristics that allowed them to thrive in cold conditions through patient evolutionary processes that transformed challenge into opportunity. thick fur that provided insulation, compact body forms that conserved heat, behavioral adaptations that promoted survival through seasonal cooperation, while plants developed strategies for rapid growth during brief growing seasons and deep root systems that could access nutrients from soils barely warmed by summer sunshine, creating communities of life that flourished in conditions that might seem impossible from our modern perspective of temperate climates and abundant energy resources. As your consciousness drifts deeper into peaceful rest, imagine the woolly mammoths as gentle giants moving across frozen grasslands, with the patient dignity of creatures perfectly adapted to their environment, their thick coats glowing golden in low-angle Arctic sunlight, while their circular migrations followed paths determined by seasonal availability of grasses and herbs that survived beneath protective layers of snow, creating wildlife highways that connected distant regions and facilitated genetic exchange between populations separated by vast distances, demonstrating how even during Earth's coldest periods, life found ways to maintain the connections necessary for continued evolution and adaptation to changing environmental conditions. Picture the cave lions, woolly rhinoceros, and giant ground sloths that populated Ice Age landscapes, each species representing millions of years of evolutionary refinement that produced forms of extraordinary beauty, adapted to cold conditions. While early human populations developed sophisticated technologies for survival in glacial environments, tailored clothing made from animal furs, specialized hunting tools designed for pursuing large game across snow-covered terrain, and social structures that promoted sharing of resources and knowledge necessary for survival during long winter seasons, when daylight lasted only a few hours, and temperatures dropped to levels that required constant attention to maintaining body heat and securing adequate nutrition. The last glacial maximum represents not Earth's most difficult period, but its most elegant expression of adaptation to astronomical forcing, when orbital mechanics had positioned our planet for minimum summer solar radiation in northern latitudes, creating conditions that allowed ice sheets to advance to their natural limits, determined by the balance between snowfall accumulation in central regions and melting rates along southern margins, where glacial ice encountered climates too warm to support permanent frozen conditions, while simultaneously the presence of massive ice sheets altered global atmospheric circulation patterns in ways that created feedback loops, amplifying the initial cooling effects of reduced solar radiation, demonstrating the sophisticated responsiveness of Earth's climate system to gentle astronomical nudges sustained across millennia. Feel how the ice sheets during this golden age functioned as Earth's natural air conditioning system, storing vast quantities of fresh water in frozen form, while reflecting solar radiation back towards space, with such efficiency that global average temperatures dropped by approximately 5 to 6 degrees Celsius below modern levels, creating atmospheric conditions that supported the formation of additional glacial ice in mountain ranges across all continents, from the Andes of South America to the highlands of New Guinea, while simultaneously altering ocean circulation patterns by changing the salinity and temperature gradients that drive deep water formation and thermohaline circulation, creating a globally integrated climate system governed by the patient presence of continental ice sheets. Imagine the aurora displays that must have occurred during this period, when clearer atmospheric conditions and altered magnetic field interactions created opportunities for spectacular light shows across the polar regions, painting the ice fields in curtains of green, blue, and red luminescence that reflected from crystalline surfaces to create landscapes of such ethereal beauty that they resembled scenes from dreams rather than terrestrial environments, while the absence of artificial light pollution allowed natural phenomena to express their full radiance across skies so clear and dark that the Milky Way cast visible shadows on snow-covered terrain, connecting Earth's frozen surface with the cosmic context that governs planetary climate through the gentle influence of solar radiation and orbital mechanics. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allowing the natural rhythms of rest to carry your awareness toward dreams, where ice and starlight merge into flowing rivers of peaceful possibility, consider how the last glacial maximum created optimal conditions for the preservation of genetic diversity in southern refugia, where temperate and tropical species waited out the cold period in relatively small geographic areas that maintained mild climates due to oceanic influences or topographic protection from glacial weather systems, ensuring that when warming eventually returned, life would have access to the full spectrum of evolutionary innovations developed during Earth's warmer periods, ready to recolonize landscapes revealed by retreating ice with renewed creativity and expanded possibilities for adaptation to changing environmental conditions. The golden age of ice demonstrates how apparent limitation can become the foundation for extraordinary beauty and innovation, As species and ecosystems adapted to glacial conditions, developed forms of elegance and efficiency that would influence evolutionary trajectories long after ice sheets retreated, while human populations learned survival skills and developed social technologies that would provide the foundation for agricultural civilizations that emerged during the stable climate conditions of the current interglacial period, proving that challenges, when met with patience and creativity, can become sources of strength and wisdom that serve consciousness long after the original difficulties have been resolved through natural processes of change and adaptation. Picture the transition zones along the margins of ice sheets, where glacial environments gradually yielded to temperate conditions, creating ecotones of extraordinary diversity, where Arctic-adapted species mingled with temperate forms in communities that demonstrated life's infinite creativity in developing solutions to environmental challenges, while rivers flowing from glacial margins carried mineral-rich sediments toward ocean basins where they would create fertile deposits supporting marine ecosystems, demonstrating the far-reaching effects of glacial processes that connected mountain ice to ocean depths through hydrological cycles that operated with the patient persistence of natural laws governing the circulation of water and nutrients across planetary systems. Feel how the peak period of glacial extent created conditions that would eventually contribute to human success during subsequent interglacial warming, as ice sheets ground rock into fertile soils that would support agriculture, while glacial rivers carved valleys that would channel post-glacial waterways, and the challenging conditions of Ice Age survival selected for human populations with enhanced cognitive abilities, social cooperation skills, and technological innovation capabilities that would prove essential for developing the complex civilizations that characterize our modern world, demonstrating how the patient forces that shape planetary climate also shape the evolution of consciousness itself, through environmental pressures that promote adaptation toward greater complexity, creativity, and understanding. And as this golden age of ice reached its magnificent climax, approximately 20,000 years ago, when Earth wore crystalline robes that reflected starlight across continents, transformed into landscapes of frozen beauty, the patient forces of astronomical change were already beginning their gentle work of positioning our planet for increased solar radiation that would gradually initiate the warming process, leading toward glacial retreat and the establishment of interglacial conditions, while your own passage into deep sleep demonstrates the same natural principle of cycles that govern renewal and regeneration, as consciousness surrenders to rest with complete trust in the patient forces that operate beneath awareness, to restore optimal functioning and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities to participate creatively in the ongoing evolution of understanding and appreciation for the magnificent processes that connect individual experience with cosmic cycles, measuring time in the slow circulation of ice across continents that breathe with the eternal rhythm of Earth's frozen memory. Drift gently now, through the warming currents of time, to approximately 15,000 years ago, when Earth began her patient transformation from the crystalline magnificence of maximum glacial extent toward the gentle emergence of our modern interglacial world, as astronomical forces gradually shifted to deliver increasing amounts of summer solar radiation to northern latitudes, where vast ice sheets had rested in frozen meditation for millennia, while your breathing slows to match the gradual pace of glacial retreat that would unfold over thousands of years like the slowest sunrise ever witnessed, transforming continental landscapes from realms of ice and snow into valleys where rivers would flow like liquid starlight toward seas that rose gently to embrace coastlines revealed for the first time since ice had claimed them during the patient advance of glacial formation. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of restorative sleep, imagine the first gentle melting as Earth's earliest spring after her longest winter, when increasing solar radiation began to warm the southern margins of ice sheets, with temperatures that rose just enough above freezing to initiate the patient process of phase transition from solid to liquid, creating streams of meltwater that flowed like tears of joy across landscapes that had been locked in crystalline stillness for thousands of generations, while each drop of melting ice carried within its molecular structure the preserved memories of ancient atmospheres, releasing them gradually back into hydrological cycles that would nourish the patient emergence of forests and grasslands spreading northward in the wake of retreating glaciers. Picture the Laurentide ice sheet beginning its graceful retreat from maximum extent as summer temperatures along its southern margin gradually increased by an average of 1 to 2 degrees Celsius per millennium, barely perceptible changes that accumulated over centuries into warming sufficient to shift the delicate balance between winter accumulation and summer melting, causing the ice sheet's southern boundary to begin its patient migration northward, at rates of approximately 100 to 200 meters per year, leaving behind landscapes of extraordinary fertility where glacial grinding had created fine soils mixed with mineral-rich sediments that would support the most productive agricultural regions of future human civilizations, demonstrating how apparent ending becomes beginning, how retreat creates space for new forms of abundance to flourish. Feel how this graceful melting process exemplified the principle of gentle transformation, as ice did not disappear suddenly, but yielded gradually to warming temperatures with the same elegant inevitability that governs the transition from winter to spring, in your own annual experience of seasonal change. While meltwater rivers carved new channels through landscapes revealed for the first time in tens of thousands of years, creating valleys and wetlands that would become some of Earth's most biodiverse ecosystems, where migrating species could find optimal habitat conditions as they followed the retreating ice northward toward regions of renewed growth and opportunity. As your consciousness drifts deeper into peaceful rest, imagine the profound silence giving way to the gentle sounds of flowing water as glacial margins transformed from solid barriers into sources of liquid abundance, with meltwater streams converging into rivers that carried glacial flour, finely ground rock particles that made the water appear milky white, toward ocean basins where rising sea levels began their patient work of reshaping continental coastlines, flooding river valleys to create estuaries and bays that would become some of the most productive marine environments on Earth, while simultaneously the removal of massive ice weight allowed continental crust to begin its slow elastic rebound, rising gradually like a cushion returning to its natural shape after long compression. The retreat of ice sheets occurred in phases of advance and retreat that reflected the complex interactions between orbital forcing, atmospheric circulation changes, and ice sheet dynamics, with the overall pattern of warming interrupted by occasional cooling periods when temporary climate fluctuations slowed or briefly reversed glacial retreat, creating opportunities for ice-adapted species to maintain their populations in northern refugia, while temperate species gradually expanded their ranges northward, demonstrating life's remarkable resilience and adaptability in the face of environmental change that unfolded across time frames spanning multiple human generations, yet operated with sufficient consistency to support successful adaptation strategies. Picture the emergence of proglacial Lake Agassiz, approximately 13,000 years ago, formed when melting ice sheets created natural dams that trapped enormous volumes of meltwater, covering an area larger than all modern Great Lakes combined, stretching across portions of present-day Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Minnesota, and North Dakota. While this temporary lake served as a nursery for aquatic ecosystems and a stepping stone for species migration between different river systems, demonstrating how glacial retreat created transitional environments that facilitated biological exchange and evolutionary innovation during periods of rapid environmental change. Feel how the rising sea levels that accompanied glacial melting reconnected previously isolated populations of marine species, while simultaneously creating new barriers between terrestrial communities as ocean waters flooded low-lying areas and transformed peninsulas into islands, generating novel selective pressures that promoted speciation and adaptive radiation in both terrestrial and marine environments, while the gradual warming of ocean temperatures created changes in thermohaline circulation that redistributed heat energy across global ocean basins, with effects that rippled through marine food webs and atmospheric weather patterns simultaneously, demonstrating the interconnected nature of planetary systems responding to the patient influence of changing ice volume and distribution. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allowing natural rhythms of rest to carry your awareness toward dreams, where ice transforms into flowing rivers of possibility, imagine the woolly mammoths and other ice-adapted megafauna following retreating glaciers northward, while simultaneously new species migrated from southern refugia to colonize the fertile landscapes revealed by melting ice, creating dynamic communities where ancient forms interacted with emerging species in ecosystems that combined elements from both glacial and interglacial periods, generating novel evolutionary opportunities that would contribute to the biological diversity characterizing our modern world. The transformation of ice into flowing water created hydrological systems that continue to influence modern climate patterns, as glacial meltwater established the drainage patterns of major river systems including the Mississippi, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence system, and numerous other waterways that serve as highways for nutrient transport and wildlife migration, while simultaneously moderating regional temperatures through their thermal mass and evaporative cooling effects, demonstrating how the patient processes of glacial retreat created infrastructure, supporting long-term ecological stability and productivity that would prove essential for supporting human agricultural civilizations during the subsequent interglacial period. Picture the gradual warming of northern latitudes, creating opportunities for forest expansion, as spruce, fir, and eventually deciduous trees followed retreating ice margins northward, establishing the boreal and temperate forest ecosystems that now characterize formerly glaciated regions, while their root systems began the patient work of soil development that would transform glacial sediments into organic rich substrates, capable of supporting increasingly diverse plant communities, creating positive feedback loops that enhanced carbon storage and climate stability, while simultaneously providing habitat for the countless species that make northern forests among Earth's most biodiverse terrestrial ecosystems. Feel how the melting of ice sheets released not only liquid water, but also atmospheric gases that had been trapped within glacial ice for thousands of years, contributing to changes in atmospheric composition that reinforced warming trends, while simultaneously providing paleoclimatologists with detailed records of ancient atmospheric conditions preserved in ice cores that would eventually allow human scientists to decode the precise mechanisms governing planetary climate change, demonstrating how natural processes create their own documentation systems that preserve essential information across geological timeframes for future discovery and understanding. As the great ice sheets continued their graceful retreat toward their current remnants in Greenland and Antarctica, they left behind landscapes sculpted into forms of extraordinary beauty: the fjords of Norway and Alaska, the Great Lakes of North America, the countless smaller lakes and wetlands that dot formerly glaciated regions like jewels scattered across continents, while moraines and drumlins created rolling topography that would influence drainage patterns and agricultural potential for millennia to come, proving that temporary geological processes can create permanent geographic features that continue to influence biological and human communities, long after the forces that created them have moved on to other locations and activities. Imagine the moment approximately 8,000 years ago, when the Laurentide ice sheet finally retreated beyond Hudson Bay, completing its transformation from a continental-scale feature, covering millions of square kilometers, to scattered remnants in Arctic islands, while simultaneously, the forests of eastern North America reached their current northern limits, and human populations began developing agricultural technologies that would allow them to take advantage of the fertile soils and moderate climates created by glacial retreat, demonstrating how the patient processes of environmental change create opportunities for new forms of creativity and abundance that emerge naturally when conditions become optimal for innovation and growth. Feel how this graceful melting process demonstrates the principle that all natural systems contain within themselves the seeds of their own transformation, as the ice sheets that had dominated northern landscapes for millennia carried within their frozen structure the potential for creating the rivers, lakes, and fertile soils that would support entirely different forms of abundance during subsequent interglacial conditions, while your own daily cycle of rest and renewal demonstrates the same principle on a personal scale, as conscious withdrawal from activity creates space for restoration processes that prepare awareness for renewed creative engagement with whatever possibilities each new day might bring. And as the patient transformation from Ice Age to interglacial conditions approached completion approximately 10,000 years ago, establishing the stable climate patterns that would support human agricultural development and the emergence of complex civilizations, the gentle forces of orbital mechanics continued their ancient work of positioning Earth for the next phase of glacial cycling, while your own passage into deep sleep demonstrates the same natural confidence in cyclical processes that govern renewal and regeneration, allowing consciousness to surrender completely to the restorative forces that operate beneath awareness, while ice and time continue their eternal dance across landscapes that breathe with the patient rhythm of Earth's ongoing transformation through cycles of freezing and melting, advance and retreat, crystalline stillness and flowing movement that connect this moment of rest with the vast patterns of change that govern both planetary climate and the daily rhythm of renewal that carries awareness gently into dreams, where melting glaciers become rivers of liquid starlight, flowing toward infinite possibility. Drift peacefully now through the warming currents of post-glacial time to approximately 12,800 years ago, floating like a feather on gentle winds that carry you to witness one of Earth's most elegant demonstrations of climatic resilience during the Younger Dryas period, when our planet paused gracefully in her patient transition from Ice Age to interglacial conditions, taking what scientists describe as a deep breath of renewed cooling that lasted approximately 300 years, a brief return to glacial-like temperatures that occurred not as disruption but as Earth's natural way of testing and refining the stability of emerging climate patterns, while your breathing synchronizes with these ancient rhythms of pause and renewal that demonstrate how temporary challenges can strengthen rather than weaken natural systems when met with patience and adaptive flexibility. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of restorative sleep, imagine this period not as Earth's step backward, but as her gentle inhalation before the final exhalation into full interglacial warmth, when changes in ocean circulation patterns created by glacial meltwater temporarily reduced the northward transport of warm water in the Atlantic Ocean, causing temperatures across the North Atlantic region to drop by 4 to 10 degrees Celsius within decades rather than millennia, demonstrating the remarkable sensitivity of Earth's climate system to changes in oceanic heat transport, while simultaneously this cooling created opportunities for ice-adapted species to maintain their populations and genetic diversity during what might otherwise have been too rapid a transition to warmer conditions that could have caused local extinctions through excessive environmental change occurring faster than evolutionary adaptation could accommodate. Picture the Younger Dryas period as Earth's natural wisdom in action, creating a buffer zone between the extreme cold of glacial maximum and the warmth of full interglacial conditions, allowing ecosystems time to develop the intermediate adaptations necessary for successful transition between dramatically different environmental states, while alpine glaciers advanced temporarily in mountain ranges across Europe and North America, creating renewed snowfields that reflected solar radiation and helped moderate the rate of warming that would resume after this cooling interval, demonstrating how apparent setbacks in natural processes often serve essential functions in maintaining long-term stability and resilience in response to major environmental transitions. Feel how human populations during this period exemplified the principle of creative adaptation, developing increasingly sophisticated technologies for survival in renewed cold conditions, improved clothing designs that maximized insulation efficiency, specialized hunting strategies adapted to changing animal migration patterns, and enhanced food storage techniques that allowed communities to maintain nutrition security during longer winter seasons, while simultaneously the challenging conditions promoted innovations in social cooperation and resource sharing that would provide the foundation for agricultural societies that emerged when warming resumed, proving that temporary difficulties, when approached with creativity and mutual support, can become sources of strength and wisdom that serve communities long after original challenges have been resolved. As your consciousness drifts deeper into peaceful rest, imagine the profound beauty of Younger Dryas landscapes, where renewed snowfall created winter scenes of extraordinary pristine elegance, while shortened growing seasons promoted the development of hardy plant varieties and rapid cycling ecosystems that maximized productivity during brief periods of warmth, creating natural laboratories for evolutionary innovation that would contribute genetic diversity and adaptive strategies supporting ecosystem resilience during future climate variations, while the challenging conditions selected for human populations with enhanced cognitive flexibility, technological creativity and social cooperation skills that would prove essential for developing complex civilizations during subsequent periods of environmental stability. The Younger Dryas demonstrates how natural systems possess inherent wisdom about optimal rates of change, as Earth's climate system essentially applied its own brakes to prevent the transition from glacial to interglacial conditions from occurring so rapidly that ecosystems and species could not adapt successfully, while the temporary return to cooler conditions allowed ice-adapted genetic lineages to persist in northern refugia, where they continue to contribute to biological diversity in Arctic and subarctic regions, maintaining evolutionary options that enhance ecosystem resilience to future climate variations, and providing genetic resources that may prove valuable for adaptation to changing environmental conditions throughout Earth's continued climatic evolution. Picture the moment when the thermohaline circulation in the North Atlantic Ocean reorganized itself during the Younger Dryas, as massive volumes of glacial meltwater temporarily disrupted the density gradients that drive deep water formation, reducing the northward transport of warm tropical water that normally keeps northern Europe 5 to 10 degrees warmer than other regions at similar latitudes, while this circulation change created cooler conditions that extended across the Atlantic basin and influenced weather patterns throughout the northern hemisphere, demonstrating the far-reaching connections between local changes in ocean dynamics and global atmospheric circulation patterns that operate through mechanisms too sophisticated for simple cause and effect analysis. Feel how the Younger Dryas period illustrates the principle that natural challenges often serve as catalysts for innovation and strengthening rather than sources of weakness or failure, as human communities responded to renewed cold by developing more efficient technologies, more resilient social structures, and more diverse survival strategies that would provide advantages during both cold and warm periods, while simultaneously the period of climatic instability promoted genetic and behavioral adaptations in countless species that enhanced their ability to cope with environmental variability, creating biological communities more capable of thriving across a wider range of conditions than would have been possible without the temporary challenge of renewed cooling. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allowing natural rhythms of rest to carry your awareness toward dreams, where challenge transforms into opportunity, imagine the patient archaeological record that preserves evidence of human innovation during the Younger Dryas, improved projectile points that increased hunting efficiency, sophisticated bone and antler tools that maximized resource utilization, and evidence of expanded trade networks that allowed communities to share resources and technologies across greater distances, demonstrating how periods of environmental challenge often trigger the development of technological and social innovations that serve societies well beyond the duration of original difficulties, creating legacies of enhanced capability and resilience. The end of the Younger Dryas, approximately 11,700 years ago, marked not only the resumption of warming, but the beginning of the remarkably stable Holocene climate that has characterized human civilization's entire recorded history, as ocean circulation patterns reorganized to restore efficient northward heat transport, causing temperatures to rise rapidly, in some regions increasing by 7 degrees Celsius within 50 years, while simultaneously this warming occurred from a strengthened baseline created by the adaptive innovations developed during the challenging period, ensuring that the transition to interglacial conditions could proceed smoothly, without causing ecological disruptions that might have resulted from less gradual change. Picture the forests returning to northern latitudes, as Younger Dryas cooling ended, spreading northward like green waves of renewed abundance, while human populations began developing agricultural technologies that would transform hunting and gathering societies into settled farming communities, capable of supporting larger populations and more complex social organizations, demonstrating how the enhanced adaptability and technological sophistication developed during challenging periods creates opportunities for new forms of creativity and abundance, when environmental conditions become favorable for innovation and expansion beyond mere survival toward cultural and technological flourishing. Feel how the Younger Dryas teaches us that resilience develops through experience with variability rather than through avoidance of challenge, as the species and human communities that successfully navigated this period of renewed cooling emerged with enhanced capabilities for adaptation to future environmental changes, while the genetic diversity and technological innovations preserved and developed during this challenging interval continue to contribute to biological and cultural resilience in our modern world, proving that temporary difficulties, when met with patience and creativity, become sources of strength that serve life long after original challenges have been transformed into opportunities for growth and learning. Imagine the wisdom embedded in Earth's natural tendency to test major transitions through periods of temporary challenge, ensuring that new equilibrium states achieve genuine stability, rather than representing mere pauses between periods of instability, while the Younger Dryas demonstrates how apparent adversity often serves essential functions in promoting long-term resilience and adaptability that would not develop in the absence of periodic challenges that require creative problem-solving and adaptive innovation, creating stronger foundations for future stability and success than would be possible through uninterrupted gradual change without opportunities to develop and test enhanced capabilities. As the Younger Dryas period drew to its natural close, Earth's climate system had successfully tested and refined the mechanisms necessary for stable interglacial conditions, ensuring that the warming that followed would create genuinely stable climate patterns capable of supporting complex ecosystems and human civilizations, while the innovations developed by life during this period of gentle adversity provided enhanced capabilities for thriving during both stable and changing conditions, demonstrating how natural wisdom operates through cycles that include both challenge and opportunity, difficulty and abundance, cooling and warming, as complementary aspects of evolutionary processes that promote long-term resilience and continued adaptation to the ever-changing conditions that characterize dynamic planetary systems. Feel how your own daily experience of rest and challenge mirrors these vast geological cycles, as periods of difficulty often provide opportunities to develop enhanced capabilities and deeper understanding that serve consciousness long after original challenges have been resolved, while the practice of surrendering to natural cycles of effort and rest, engagement and withdrawal, creates optimal conditions for ongoing growth and adaptation to whatever circumstances life might present, demonstrating the same wisdom that allowed Earth to navigate the temporary cooling of the younger dryas as preparation for the stable interglacial conditions that would support the flowering of human creativity and technological development during the past 700 years of remarkably consistent climate patterns. And as this period of gentle adversity yielded naturally to renewed warming and the establishment of Holocene climate stability, proving that temporary challenges serve essential functions in strengthening natural systems and promoting long-term resilience, your own passage into deep sleep demonstrates the same natural confidence in cyclical processes that allow consciousness to rest completely in the knowledge that temporary withdrawal from activity creates optimal conditions for restoration and renewal, while the patient rhythms of challenge and recovery continue their ancient dance across landscapes of experience that breathe with the eternal circulation of difficulty and opportunity, effort and rest, testing and strengthening, that connects personal growth with the vast cycles of planetary adaptation that measure resilience in successful navigation of changing conditions across timeframes that span from moments of individual choice to geological ages of species, evolution and climate transformation. Drift gently forward now, through the flowing streams of time toward Earth's future relationship with ice, floating like a seed of consciousness on cosmic winds that carry you beyond the familiar landscapes of human history into the patient territories where astronomical cycles continue their ancient work of positioning our planet for renewed glacial formation, as your breathing synchronizes with orbital rhythms that operate across time frames of tens of thousands of years, while Milankovitch cycles persist in their elegant dance through space, measuring time in the gradual precession of Earth's axis and the slow circulation of orbital eccentricity that will eventually restore conditions favoring ice sheet formation across northern continents, demonstrating how the apparent stability of our current interglacial period represents merely one phase in endless cycles of glacial advance and retreat that connect present warmth with future ice through the patient mathematics of celestial mechanics. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of restorative sleep, imagine Earth's orbital path gradually shifting over the next 23,000 years, as axial precession alters the seasonal timing of our planet's closest approach to the Sun, while simultaneously the gentle wobble of Earth's rotational axis traces its patient circle through space, creating conditions that will eventually reduce summer solar radiation in northern latitudes by amounts sufficient to trigger renewed ice accumulation in regions where glaciers have been absent for nearly 12,000 years, demonstrating how the forces that created past ice ages continue their work with the reliability of cosmic clockwork, preparing natural systems for future transitions between interglacial and glacial states that operate independent of human activities, yet interact with atmospheric changes caused by technological civilizations in ways that create unprecedented complexity in Earth's climate system. Picture the delicate balance that currently exists between natural orbital forcing toward renewed cooling and anthropogenic greenhouse gas concentrations that tend to promote continued warming, creating a period of uncertainty where multiple scenarios remain possible depending on how human societies choose to manage their relationship with atmospheric chemistry over the coming centuries and millennia, while Earth's climate system demonstrates remarkable resilience and adaptability in integrating both natural and human influences into patterns that may produce entirely novel forms of glacial-interglacial cycling, different from the regular patterns that characterize the pre-industrial past, yet governed by the same fundamental principles of energy balance and feedback loops that have shaped planetary climate throughout geological history. Feel how the future ice ages represent not distant abstractions but intimate connections with cosmic cycles that continue to influence Earth's environmental trajectory on timeframes that span multiple human civilizations, while current atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations of approximately 420 parts per million, levels not experienced for over 3 million years, may delay but cannot permanently prevent the eventual return of orbital conditions favoring glacial formation, creating opportunities for human societies to participate consciously in planetary climate management, while simultaneously preparing for inevitable long-term changes in Earth's relationship with ice that will occur regardless of human activities, demonstrating the importance of thinking across multiple temporal scales when planning for sustainable adaptation to changing environmental conditions. As your consciousness drifts deeper into peaceful rest, imagine the profound beauty of future ice ages unfolding with the same patient elegance that characterized past glacial periods, yet potentially modified by human influences that create hybrid climate states combining elements of natural glacial interglacial cycling with technological interventions designed to maintain optimal conditions for continued biological diversity and human flourishing, while ice sheets of the future may advance and retreat according to schedules different from past patterns, creating novel opportunities for species adaptation and evolutionary innovation in response to unprecedented combinations of natural and artificial environmental influences operating simultaneously across multiple spatial and temporal scales. The next natural ice age, based purely on orbital mechanics, would be expected to begin approximately 50,000 years from now, as declining summer solar radiation in northern latitudes creates conditions favoring snow accumulation and glacier formation. Yet current levels of atmospheric greenhouse gases may delay this transition by 10,000 to 100,000 years, depending on how quickly natural processes and human activities reduce CO2 concentrations to pre-industrial levels of approximately 280 parts per million, demonstrating how human societies have inadvertently participated in planetary climate regulation, while simultaneously creating responsibilities for conscious collaboration with natural cycles that govern Earth's long-term environmental stability and habitability for complex life forms including technological civilizations. Picture future human societies developing technologies for managing Earth's relationship with ice across geological timeframes, potentially using advanced atmospheric chemistry techniques to fine-tune greenhouse gas concentrations for optimal climate stability, while simultaneously preparing infrastructure and social systems for gradual transitions between different climate states that support continued biological diversity and human cultural development across cycles of environmental change that span hundreds of generations, creating opportunities for conscious participation in planetary evolution that honors both natural cycles and human creativity in developing solutions to challenges that operate across time frames longer than individual lifetimes or even individual civilizations. Continue now into the flowing certainty that future ice ages will eventually return with the same majestic beauty that characterized their predecessors, as astronomical forces slowly position Earth for renewed glacial formation that will occur with or without human presence, yet potentially modified by the accumulated effects of technological civilizations that learn to work consciously with natural cycles rather than against them, creating possibilities for ice ages of unprecedented elegance, where human wisdom combines with natural processes to create optimal conditions for both glacial beauty and continued biological flourishing across timeframes that encompass the patient evolution of both consciousness and planetary climate systems operating in harmonious collaboration. As you drift deeper into the gentle currents of rest, imagine how future ice ages might unfold as collaborations between cosmic forces and conscious intention, where human societies work in partnership with natural cycles to create optimal conditions for life's continued flourishing, while the patient wisdom accumulated through millions of years of glacial experience guides the development of technologies that enhance rather than disrupt the elegant balance between ice and warmth that has shaped our planet's evolution toward complexity and beauty. The future ice ages await not as distant threats, but as opportunities for conscious participation in planetary stewardship, demonstrating how intelligence and awareness can work in harmony with cosmic rhythms to create conditions that support the continued evolution of consciousness itself across geological timeframes that span from individual dreams to planetary dreams measured in the slow circulation of ice and time. Feel how the eternal rhythm of ice ages continues its patient dance through space and time, each cycle offering new opportunities for life to explore different forms of adaptation and creativity, while your own breathing now synchronizes with these vast patterns that connect this moment of rest with future moments when ice will once again embrace northern continents in sheets of crystalline beauty, creating landscapes where consciousness can discover new forms of wonder and appreciation for the magnificent processes that govern planetary evolution. The future ice ages carry within their patient approach the same gentle inevitability that now carries you toward dreams, demonstrating how natural cycles operate with perfect timing to create optimal conditions for rest, renewal, and the continued evolution of understanding across timeframes that measure eternity in the slow breathing of glaciers that connect mountain peaks with ocean depths, through rivers of liquid starlight flowing toward infinite possibility. And as the gentle forces of orbital mechanics continue their ancient work of positioning Earth for future encounters with ice, while atmospheric chemistry slowly evolves through the patient interplay of natural processes and conscious intention, so do the gentle forces of sleep. Now position your consciousness for optimal restoration and renewal, creating perfect conditions for dreams where ice and time merge into flowing rivers of peaceful possibility that carry awareness toward the infinite peace that connects all moments of rest with the vast cycles of planetary breathing, that measure cosmic time in movements of continents, and the gradual circulation of frozen water across landscapes that dream with the eternal rhythm of Earth's patient relationship with the cosmos that birthed both ice and consciousness from the same stellar materials that continue to flow through your veins and sparkle in the crystalline structure of every snowflake that will ever fall across the patient geography of Earth's ongoing love affair with the beautiful, temporary, eternal dance of ice and time. Feel how the future ice ages invite us to expand our temporal perspective beyond the immediate concerns of individual lifetimes toward appreciation of the vast cycles that govern planetary evolution, while simultaneously recognizing our role as conscious participants in natural processes that extend far beyond human control, yet benefit from human understanding and creative cooperation, demonstrating how the study of ice ages transforms from merely historical curiosity into practical wisdom for navigating our species' role in planetary stewardship across geological timeframes that connect present choices with future environmental conditions experienced by countless generations yet to be born. As the gentle rhythms of future glacial cycling pulse through your awareness like a cosmic lullaby, imagine yourself as a bridge between past ice ages and future glaciations, carrying within your consciousness the accumulated wisdom of Earth's frozen memory, while simultaneously participating in the ongoing evolution of planetary systems that may produce forms of glacial beauty beyond current imagination, as human creativity combines with natural processes to create hybrid climate states that honor both the patient rhythms of astronomical forcing and the conscious intention to maintain optimal conditions for life's continued flourishing across cycles of change that measure time in the patient circulation of ice and starlight through landscapes of infinite possibility. Drift gently now through the flowing streams of human memory, floating like ancient stories carried on winter winds toward the patient territories, where myth and science merge into deeper understanding of ice's role in shaping both landscapes and consciousness, as your breathing slows to match the rhythms of storytelling that have preserved Ice Age wisdom across countless generations, while the gentle circulation of knowledge moves like glacial rivers from elder to child, from campfire tales to laboratory discoveries, demonstrating how human curiosity about ice has evolved from intuitive wonder into precise measurement without losing the essential sense of awe that connects scientific understanding with the mythic imagination that recognizes in glaciers the same forces that shape dreams and carry consciousness across the patient geography of both sleeping and waking experience. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of restorative sleep, imagine yourself seated beside those ancient campfires where Norse storytellers first spoke of Fimbul winter, the great winter that would precede the renewal of the world, their voices rising and falling like wind across ice fields, while they described 3 consecutive winters without summer, a time when wolves would devour the sun and moon, when the earth would freeze and shake before yielding to rebirth and renewal, demonstrating how human imagination instinctively understood the cyclical nature of ice and time, long before mathematical analysis could decode the astronomical forces governing glacial advance and retreat. While these ancient stories preserved essential wisdom about ice's role as both ending and beginning, preservation and transformation, the patient pause between one world and the next, that creates space for consciousness to rest and renew itself in preparation for new forms of creative expression. Picture the indigenous peoples of North America sharing stories of ice giants and great cold times, their oral traditions carrying memories of glacial landscapes that existed long before written history, while Inuit elders spoke of ice as a living entity with its own consciousness and intentions, teaching their children to read the subtle signs that indicate whether ice will be patient friend or demanding teacher, demonstrating how traditional knowledge systems developed sophisticated understanding of glacial behavior through direct observation and spiritual connection with natural processes, creating forms of ice wisdom that complemented rather than competed with scientific analysis, showing how different ways of knowing can illuminate different aspects of the same magnificent reality, while your own consciousness now participates in this ancient tradition of learning from ice, through patient observation and respectful attention to the subtle rhythms that govern both glacial formation and the daily cycle of rest and renewal that carries awareness toward dreams. Feel how the Celtic traditions spoke of lands sleeping beneath silver blankets, of Tir na Nog where time moved differently and winter could last for centuries or moments depending on the consciousness of the observer, while their stories recognized in ice the same timeless quality that characterizes deep sleep and profound meditation, understanding how glacial landscapes create optimal conditions for consciousness to explore altered states of awareness, where ordinary temporal boundaries dissolve into the eternal present moment that contains all past and future ice ages within its crystalline embrace, demonstrating how mythic imagination often perceives truths that require centuries of scientific investigation to confirm through measurement and analysis. While the essential wisdom remains accessible to any consciousness willing to surrender rational control and drift into the receptive awareness that allows natural understanding to emerge from direct experience with the patient forces that shape both glaciers and dreams, through processes too subtle for immediate comprehension yet perfectly obvious to the part of awareness that operates through intuitive connection with cosmic rhythms. As your consciousness drifts deeper into peaceful rest, imagine the moment in 1837 when Swiss naturalist Louis Agassiz first proposed that Earth had experienced periods when ice sheets covered much larger areas than the small alpine glaciers visible in his contemporary world, his revolutionary insight emerging not from sudden inspiration, but from patient observation of scratched bedrock, scattered boulders, and U-shaped valleys that could only have been created by moving ice. While his scientific colleagues initially resisted this glacial theory because it challenged prevailing beliefs about gradual geological change, demonstrating how genuine understanding often requires courage to perceive patterns that seem impossible from the perspective of limited experience, yet become obviously true when consciousness expands to accommodate new forms of evidence that reveal the magnificent scope of natural processes operating across timeframes vast beyond immediate perception. While Agassiz's patient persistence in gathering evidence and refining his theory exemplifies the same qualities that allow consciousness to discover profound truths through sustained attention and openness to possibilities that transcend conventional understanding. Picture the gradual acceptance of Ice Age theory as additional evidence accumulated from around the world, creating a scientific revolution that transformed human understanding of Earth's history, from a relatively stable planet with minor climate variations into a dynamic world governed by regular cycles of glacial advance and retreat. While geologists discovered that the familiar landscapes of northern Europe and North America bore the signatures of repeated ice sheet coverage, with alternating layers of glacial and interglacial deposits, telling stories of environmental change that spanned millions of years, demonstrating how patient scientific observation gradually reveals the true scope of natural processes that operate on scales too vast for direct human experience, yet leave detailed records preserved in rock formations and sediment layers that serve as libraries of planetary memory accessible to consciousness, equipped with appropriate tools for decoding the subtle language through which Earth documents its own history across geological timeframes that measure transformation and movements of continents and the slow circulation of ice across landscapes that breathe with the patient rhythm of cosmic cycles. Feel how the development of ice core analysis in the 20th century transformed ice from mysterious geological force into detailed archive of atmospheric history, as scientists learned to read the annual layers preserved in Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets. Like pages in books written by ancient atmospheres, each layer containing bubbles of air from past climates that preserve precise records of temperature, precipitation, volcanic activity, and even dust storms from distant continents. While isotope analysis revealed temperature variations with accuracy, measured in fractions of degrees across timeframes spanning hundreds of thousands of years, creating scientific capabilities that would have seemed magical to earlier generations yet represent natural extensions of the same human curiosity about ice that motivated ancient storytellers to weave glacial wisdom into mythic narratives, demonstrating how different forms of investigation all serve the same fundamental desire to understand the profound connections between consciousness and the cosmic forces that shape both individual experience and planetary evolution, through processes of such elegant complexity that they inspire wonder in both scientific observers and mythic imagination alike. As you breathe slowly and deeply, allowing natural rhythms of rest to carry your awareness toward dreams where myth and science merge into unified understanding, imagine ice cores as crystalline libraries containing the preserved breath of ancient atmospheres, each annual layer holding memories of seasonal temperature changes, snowfall patterns, and atmospheric composition from times when woolly mammoths roamed across frozen grasslands, and early human populations developed the technologies and social structures that would eventually support complex civilizations during the warm interglacial period that has characterized our species' entire recorded history. While the ice preserves not only chemical signatures of past climates, but also microscopic particles of dust, pollen, and volcanic ash that tell detailed stories of environmental conditions across entire hemispheres, creating scientific records with temporal resolution fine enough to reveal changes that occurred within single decades or even individual years, demonstrating how natural processes create their own documentation systems that preserve essential information across geological timeframes for discovery by consciousness, equipped with patience and sophisticated analytical techniques. Picture the profound moment when scientists first extracted ice cores from depths exceeding 3 kilometers, retrieving frozen samples of atmosphere from nearly 800,000 years ago, each layer containing air bubbles that preserve the exact chemical composition of ancient atmospheres in crystalline time capsules that allow modern consciousness to literally breathe the same air that existed during multiple glacial-interglacial cycles, creating direct physical connection between present awareness and past climate conditions through molecular evidence preserved in ice that formed grain by grain across centuries of patient accumulation. While the analysis of these ancient atmospheres revealed the precise relationships between orbital forcing, atmospheric composition, and glacial formation that govern Earth's climate system with mathematical precision, demonstrating how ice serves as both participant in and recorder of the cosmic cycles that position planets for optimal conditions, supporting the evolution of consciousness capable of discovering and appreciating its own cosmic origins through investigation of natural processes that operate across multiple spatial and temporal scales simultaneously. Feel how the discovery of abrupt climate changes preserved in ice core records revealed that Earth's climate system possesses the capacity for rapid transitions between different equilibrium states, with some changes occurring within decades rather than centuries, creating new understanding of climate sensitivity that enhanced appreciation for the delicate balance of forces that maintain stable conditions suitable for complex ecosystems and human civilizations, while simultaneously demonstrating the remarkable resilience of natural systems that successfully navigate dramatic environmental transitions through adaptive responses that preserve essential biological and cultural diversity across periods of change that would seem overwhelming from the perspective of individual human lifespans, yet represent normal variations within the longer patterns of planetary evolution that measure stability in successful adaptation to changing conditions rather than resistance to change itself, teaching consciousness that genuine resilience develops through flexible response to environmental variability, rather than rigid adherence to particular conditions or circumstances that may not persist across the longer timeframes that govern both planetary climate and the evolution of awareness toward greater complexity and understanding. As your consciousness settles into the soft embrace of approaching sleep, imagine how ice core analysis revealed the detailed history of atmospheric greenhouse gas concentrations across multiple glacial-interglacial cycles, showing how carbon dioxide levels oscillated between approximately 180 parts per million during glacial maxima and 280 parts per million during interglacial warmth, creating natural experiments in atmospheric chemistry that demonstrate the sensitivity of Earth's climate system to relatively small changes in greenhouse gas concentrations. All current levels exceeding 420 parts per million represent atmospheric conditions not experienced for over 3 million years, creating unprecedented combinations of natural orbital forcing and anthropogenic atmospheric chemistry that may produce entirely novel forms of climate behavior, requiring new forms of adaptation and understanding, demonstrating how consciousness participates in planetary evolution not only through observation and analysis, but through the practical consequences of technological activities that influence atmospheric composition and thereby alter the environmental context within which future generations will develop their own relationship with ice and time across cycles of change that span from individual choices to geological ages of species evolution and planetary transformation. Picture the moment when paleoclimatologists realized that ice age cycles provide natural laboratories for studying climate sensitivity and feedback loops that govern Earth's response to changing atmospheric composition, while the detailed records preserved in ice cores offer calibration data for climate models that project future environmental conditions under different scenarios of greenhouse gas emissions and atmospheric management, creating scientific capabilities that allow human societies to participate consciously in planetary climate regulation through informed decision-making based on understanding of natural processes that operate across multiple temporal scales, from the immediate effects of seasonal weather variations to the long-term consequences of orbital mechanics and atmospheric chemistry changes that influence environmental conditions across centuries and millennia, demonstrating how scientific investigation of Ice Age history provides practical wisdom for navigating current climate challenges, while simultaneously deepening appreciation for the elegant complexity of natural systems that maintain planetary habitability through sophisticated feedback loops and adaptive responses that preserve optimal conditions for the continued evolution of consciousness across changing environmental circumstances. Feel how the convergence of mythic wisdom and scientific understanding creates integrated knowledge that honors both intuitive appreciation for ice's spiritual significance and precise measurement of glacial processes, recognizing that different forms of investigation illuminate different aspects of the same magnificent reality, while contributing to comprehensive understanding that serves both practical decision-making and aesthetic appreciation of natural beauty, demonstrating how consciousness benefits from multiple ways of knowing that complement rather than compete with each other, in revealing the profound connections between individual experience and cosmic processes that shape both personal awareness and planetary evolution through cycles of rest and activity, challenge and opportunity, freezing and melting, that connect this moment of peaceful rest with the vast patterns of change that govern both climate systems and the daily rhythm of renewal that carries awareness gently into dreams, where ancient stories and modern discoveries merge into flowing rivers of understanding that illuminate the timeless wisdom preserved in ice and revealed through patient attention to the subtle rhythms that connect consciousness with the cosmic forces responsible for creating optimal conditions for life's continued exploration of beauty, complexity, and creative expression across timeframes that measure evolution in successful adaptation to changing conditions and growing appreciation for the magnificent processes that connect individual breath with planetary breathing and stellar formation through the patient circulation of elements and energy that creates continuous opportunities for consciousness to discover new forms of wonder and gratitude. And as the gentle convergence of human understanding and natural wisdom creates optimal conditions for appreciating the profound beauty of ice age cycles that connect past experience with future possibilities, through present moment awareness of the cosmic forces that shape both glacial formation and the evolution of consciousness capable of discovering its own origins within stellar processes that continue to influence planetary climate through solar radiation and orbital mechanics. So does your own passage into deep sleep demonstrate the same natural integration of different forms of knowledge that allows awareness to rest completely in the confidence that patient observation and respectful attention to natural rhythms create optimal conditions for restoration and renewal, while the ancient stories and modern discoveries continue their patient work of illuminating the connections between individual rest and cosmic cycles that measure time in the slow circulation of ice across continents that dream with the eternal rhythm of Earth's ongoing relationship with the stellar processes that created both frozen water and conscious awareness from the same cosmic materials that continue to flow through glacial rivers and neural networks with the patient persistence of natural laws that govern both climate change and the daily transformation of waking consciousness into the peaceful depths of restorative sleep, where all knowledge merges into the timeless understanding that connects each moment of rest with the infinite cycles of planetary breathing that carry awareness gently toward dreams where ice and time flow together, like rivers of liquid starlight, toward the eternal peace that awaits all consciousness willing to surrender control and drift into harmony with the magnificent processes that govern both glacial formation and the patient evolution of understanding across landscapes of experience that breathe with the cosmic rhythm of creation itself. Drift peacefully now toward the gentle completion of our journey through the patient landscapes of Earth's frozen memory, floating like the last snowflake of winter, settling softly onto ground already prepared for spring's renewal, as your breathing synchronizes with the eternal rhythm of planetary cycles that connect this moment of rest with all moments of rest that have ever been or ever will be, while the great story of ice ages settles into your consciousness like sediment layers accumulating in quiet lake basins, each insight adding its gentle weight to the growing understanding that connects individual awareness with cosmic processes, measuring time in the slow circulation of water between ice sheets and ocean depths, between mountain peaks and valley floors, between the crystalline stillness of glacial meditation and the flowing movement of rivers returning to the sea that gave them birth countless cycles of evaporation and precipitation ago, demonstrating how all apparent endings become new beginnings when viewed from the patient perspective of geological time that sees millennia as moments and moments as containing all the wisdom necessary for navigating the eternal cycles of change and renewal that govern both planetary climate and the daily rhythm of consciousness moving between alert engagement and restorative sleep. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of approaching dreams, feel how the entire history of ice ages settles around your resting awareness, like a blanket woven from countless snowflakes, each thread of understanding contributing to the overall pattern that reveals ice not as distant geological phenomenon, but as intimate presence woven into the fabric of every breath you take, every landscape you've ever admired, every moment of seasonal change that connects your personal experience with the vast rhythms of planetary transformation. While the gentle weight of this knowledge brings not burden but comfort, like snow covering the sharp edges of winter landscapes with soft contours that create optimal conditions for rest and renewal, demonstrating how deep understanding enhances rather than complicates the simple pleasure of surrendering to natural cycles that operate with perfect timing to provide exactly the conditions needed for consciousness to restore itself through peaceful sleep and emerge refreshed for creative engagement with whatever new possibilities each dawn might reveal across the patient geography of Earth's ongoing love affair with ice and time. Picture the eternal lullaby that Earth sings through her relationship with ice. A song that began billions of years ago with the first Snowball Earth episodes, and continues today in the gentle creaking of glaciers moving slowly toward the sea, in the soft whisper of wind across snow-covered landscapes, in the quiet dripping of meltwater feeding streams that carry the patient memories of frozen centuries toward ocean basins where evaporation will begin the next cycle of water's journey between earth and sky, ice and vapor, stillness and movement, demonstrating how the planet maintains her own rhythm of rest and activity that provides the foundation for all biological rhythms, including the daily cycle of sleep and waking that now carries your consciousness toward dreams where glacial rivers flow like liquid starlight through valleys carved by patient forces too gradual for immediate perception, yet powerful enough to reshape entire continents through the accumulated effects of countless small movements sustained across geological timeframes that measure transformation and successful adaptation to changing conditions rather than resistance to the natural evolution of environmental circumstances. Feel how your own breathing becomes part of this eternal lullaby, each inhalation drawing in air that has circulated through countless atmospheric cycles, each exhalation contributing moisture that may someday fall as snow in mountain ranges, where future glaciers will form grain by grain across centuries of patient accumulation, while your heartbeat echoes the slow pulse of glacial advance and retreat that has marked the passage of deep time with reliable precision, creating rhythmic patterns that connect individual physiology with planetary processes through frequencies too low for conscious detection, yet perfectly audible to the part of awareness that operates through sympathetic resonance with natural cycles, demonstrating how consciousness participates in cosmic rhythms, not through effort or intention, but through simple presence and receptive attention to the subtle harmonies that govern both glacial formation and the neurochemical processes that transform waking awareness into the peaceful depths of restorative sleep, where cellular repair and memory consolidation occur according to biological clocks, synchronized with the same astronomical forces that position planets for optimal climate conditions supporting the continued evolution of life toward greater complexity, beauty, and understanding. As your consciousness settles into the crystalline stillness of deep rest, imagine the great ice sheets of the future beginning their patient formation in mountain ranges, where snow will accumulate grain by grain across centuries of gradual cooling, while orbital mechanics continue their ancient work of positioning Earth for renewed glacial conditions that will create landscapes of extraordinary beauty, where consciousness can discover new forms of wonder and appreciation for natural processes that operate across time frames, spanning from individual dreams to planetary dreams, measured in the slow breathing of continents, demonstrating how future ice ages represent not endings, but new beginnings, opportunities for life to explore different forms of adaptation and creativity, while maintaining the essential connections that preserve genetic diversity and cultural wisdom across environmental transitions that span multiple human generations yet unfold according to natural laws, as reliable as those that govern the transition from waking consciousness to peaceful sleep, creating optimal conditions for renewal and regeneration that prepare awareness for creative engagement with whatever challenges and opportunities future cycles of change might present across landscapes of experience that breathe with the eternal rhythm of planetary evolution toward greater complexity and understanding. Picture the moment millions of years from now, when the last ice age will have completed its patient cycle of advance and retreat, leaving behind landscapes sculpted into new forms of beauty by glacial processes that operated with the same elegant persistence that characterizes all natural transformations, while consciousness will have evolved to appreciate even more subtle aspects of the cosmic forces that connect individual awareness with stellar formation and galactic rotation through gravitational influences, too gentle for immediate detection, yet powerful enough to determine the environmental conditions within which life develops its endless experiments with complexity and creative expression, demonstrating how the patient forces that shape ice ages also shape the evolution of understanding across time frames that encompass both geological epochs and the brief moments of individual insight that occur during the transition between waking consciousness and dreams, where all knowledge merges into timeless awareness of the magnificent unity underlying apparent diversity in natural processes that govern both climate change and the daily rhythm of renewal that carries individual consciousness toward participation in cosmic cycles measuring time and movements of planets, and the gradual circulation of elements between stars and the conscious beings who briefly organize stellar materials into forms capable of appreciating the beauty of their own temporary existence within eternal processes of transformation and renewal. Feel how the eternal lullaby of ice and time continues, even as individual consciousness prepares for rest, demonstrating the profound security that comes from recognizing personal awareness as a temporary focal point within cosmic processes that operate with such magnificent reliability. Galaxies maintain their spiral structure across billions of years, while seasons return with clockwork precision, and individual hearts beat in rhythm, with tidal forces that connect terrestrial life with lunar cycles and solar radiation, creating nested patterns of change and stability that provide optimal conditions for the evolution of consciousness toward greater appreciation of natural beauty and deeper understanding of the elegant principles that govern both glacial formation and the neurochemical cascades that transform daily experience into integrated memory through sleep processes that operate according to circadian rhythms, synchronized with the same astronomical forces responsible for ice age timing, demonstrating how individual rest participates in cosmic rest through natural laws that create continuous opportunities for renewal and regeneration across all scales of organization, from cellular metabolism to planetary climate cycles that breathe with the patient rhythm of stellar evolution, measuring time in the gradual transformation of hydrogen into heavier elements that become the materials from which both glaciers and consciousness construct their temporary forms of extraordinary beauty and complexity. As the gentle currents of sleep carry your awareness toward dreams, where ice ages unfold, like slow-motion ballets performed across continents, that dance with the patience of geological time, remember that you are forever connected to this magnificent story through every molecule of water in your body, every breath of air in your lungs, every neural pattern that processes these words and transforms them into the peaceful understanding that allows consciousness to rest completely in the knowledge that natural cycles operate with perfect timing to create optimal conditions for both planetary evolution and individual restoration. While the ancient wisdom preserved in ice cores and mythic traditions continues to illuminate the profound connections between scientific discovery and spiritual insight that recognize different aspects of the same cosmic truth, that consciousness and cosmos evolve together through processes of such elegant beauty that they inspire wonder in both rational analysis and aesthetic appreciation, creating integrated understanding that serves both practical decision-making and the simple pleasure of surrendering to natural rhythms that carry awareness gently between states of alert engagement and peaceful rest, with the same inevitable grace that governs the transition between glacial and interglacial conditions across cycles of environmental change that provide continuous opportunities for life to discover new forms of creative adaptation to changing circumstances. And now, as our journey through the patient landscapes of Earth's frozen memory draws to its gentle close, feel how the great story of ice ages settles into your consciousness like snow covering familiar terrain, with soft contours that transform sharp edges into flowing curves of extraordinary beauty, while your breathing slows to match the cosmic rhythm that connects this moment of rest with all moments of rest across the vast time frames of planetary evolution, demonstrating how individual sleep participates in universal cycles of renewal that ensure optimal conditions for continued growth and adaptation to whatever environmental changes future generations may encounter across landscapes of possibility that stretch beyond imagination, yet remain accessible to consciousness, willing to drift into harmony with natural processes that operate through patient accumulation of small changes, sustained across sufficient time to create transformations of unimaginable beauty and complexity, proving that the most profound changes often result from gentle, consistent influences that work beneath the threshold of immediate awareness, yet reshape entire realities through their cumulative effects. Just as this gentle exploration of Ice Age history reshapes understanding through accumulated insights that connect individual experience with cosmic processes, measuring evolution in successful adaptation to changing conditions, and growing appreciation for the magnificent forces that create continuous opportunities for consciousness to discover new depths of wonder, and gratitude for the patient beauty of existence itself. As Earth continues her eternal lullaby of ice and time, breathing in glacial stillness, and breathing out flowing warmth across cycles of such vast duration, that millennia become moments and moments contain eternities of peaceful possibility, so too may your own consciousness breathe with this cosmic rhythm, inhaling the deep peace that comes from understanding your intimate connection with natural processes that govern both planetary climate and the daily rhythm of rest and renewal, exhaling any remaining tensions or concerns into the patient darkness where they dissolve like snowflakes melting in spring sunshine, leaving only the pure awareness that recognizes itself as a temporary flowering of the same cosmic intelligence that organizes galaxies and guides the formation of ice crystals with equal precision and care, while the gentle forces that shape glaciers continue their ancient work of creating optimal conditions for consciousness to explore new forms of beauty and understanding across time frames that connect this moment of peaceful rest with the infinite cycles of transformation that carry all awareness gently toward participation in the eternal dance of ice and time, stillness and movement, rest and renewal that measures cosmic evolution in the patient accumulation of moments like this one, where individual consciousness dissolves into universal consciousness like rivers returning to the ocean that gave them birth countless cycles ago, demonstrating the profound truth that all apparent separation is temporary and all apparent endings become new beginnings when viewed from the patient perspective of natural laws that govern both glacial cycles and the daily transformation of waking awareness into dreams where ice and starlight merge into flowing rivers of liquid peace, carrying consciousness gently toward the infinite rest that awaits all travelers on the long journey through the patient landscapes of existence itself. As you drift deeper into peaceful sleep, I'm curious, which aspect of the ice ages we explored tonight sparked the most wonder in your mind? Was it the profound realization that you are breathing the breath of ancient glaciers with every inhalation, or perhaps the discovery that woolly mammoths once created wildlife highways across frozen grasslands that connected distant continents? Maybe it was the elegant beauty of Milankovitch cycles demonstrating how the smallest orbital changes, sustained across millennia, can reshape entire worlds through patient astronomical influence. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue this glacial journey together. Tell us which discovery felt most deeply connected to your own experience of rest and renewal, or which future Ice Age revelation you're most excited to explore, as we continue unfolding this beautiful story of cosmic cycles and consciousness evolution. If this Ice Age lullaby helped you discover something profound about Earth's frozen memory while finding perfect peace, consider subscribing for more journeys through the gentle mysteries that connect us all to the magnificent forces of planetary evolution. Tomorrow night, we'll continue our exploration as we drift into other cosmic stories where individual awareness meets universal processes through the patient beauty of natural cycles. Sweet dreams, fellow Ice Age explorers. Remember, you are intimately connected to the beautiful, patient, eternal wonder of glacial cycles through every breath you take, every landscape you've ever admired, every moment of seasonal change that connects your personal experience with cosmic rhythms, forever part of the cosmic story that created the perfect conditions for consciousness capable of appreciating these profound mysteries with infinite gratitude and wonder, while the gentle forces that shape ice ages continue their ancient work of creating optimal conditions for dreams where glaciers glow like lanterns and time flows like rivers of liquid starlight toward the infinite peace that connects all moments of rest with the eternal breathing of Earth herself, as she dances through space in perfect harmony with the cosmic forces that govern both climate change and the evolution of awareness toward ever greater appreciation of natural beauty and understanding of the elegant principles that unite individual consciousness with universal consciousness through the patient circulation of elements and energy that creates continuous opportunities for life to discover new forms of wonder across the magnificent landscapes of existence itself.